Hello there, it's Tara, she of all things transformational body work, transformational guidance coaching, and for our purposes here today, transformational yoga. So today we're going to do a routine that's a little bit more intensive for the spine in terms of doing some back bending. Although ultimately we're not going to do any really extreme poses, some of the things that we're going to do are going to feel intense for some people's bodies because we're really going to support the spine in passive and active back bends, which open up the front body. And we're going to use props to do that. So that's really going to kind of interrupt spinal patterns. So you may, depending on your body, you may not be able to do all of the exercises in this video because some of it may just be a little bit too intense for your own spine. But you should be able to probably do at least a couple of the things, and you might be able to progress to do some of these things. Some of the openings that we're going to do might prep you pretty well to actually be able to accomplish some things that you may not typically be apt towards, or who knows, maybe this will be easy for you. Don't let me argue on behalf of your limitations. So I just want to talk real quickly about the spine. The spine, the thoracic spine, which is essentially, if you feel in your neck, it's this from where this sort of most protruding vertebrae is. The thoracic spine starts below that and goes to the bottom of your rib cage. So if you feel where your ribs end and where they attach to your spine, that's essentially the thoracic spine. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae, and the thoracic spine likes to do this. This is what the spine is designed to do. It's designed to forward fold, and it's designed to rotate. That's what the thoracic spine likes to do. But there is a small degree of extension or back bend ability in the thoracic spine. Typically, the low back, the lumbar spine, which is 5 vertebrae, that's what likes to do back bending. And so sometimes people will like hinge here, and you can see I literally have a hinge here, right? That's actually not a great way to back bend. It puts a lot of pressure on those lumbar discs, and it doesn't really access opening up the front of the body as much as we should strive to assist our posture. When we strive to bring in the small amount of extension that's available to the thoracic spine, what that does is it opens up the front of the body, lifts the chest, and helps us to have more grace and ease on this vertical axis that we exist on, planet Earth. So we're going to work with the thoracic spine quite a lot today. When I did this, I taught this class last night. Well, a longer version of this essential class in my class, which is on Zoom. So you could take it from anywhere that you want. Information is in the show notes below for my website, where you could sign up for classes if you want. So one of my students afterwards said, "Oh, I feel like it's so much easier for me to sit up or to stand up right now. It's taking so much less effort." And that's because actually opening up the spine in back bends passively and actively actually does more to release muscle tension and help to build the right kind of long tone than many times forward folding, or like a lot of times people want to relieve their back by doing like this kind of stuff. And yeah, it feels good, but it doesn't actually help us with this vertical issue. And there is an issue with being vertical on this planet, right? It's not easy to have good posture. on this planet because of gravity, and everything we do is in front of us. And if you watch my videos, you've heard me say this already a cajillion times, you know. So what you're going to need for today's class is you're going to need 2 firm blankets, or maybe 3 beach towels or something like that. And if you have proper yoga blocks, that would really be the best thing for you for this class. If you don't, maybe a couple of, you know, same size textbooks that are close in shape and size to yoga blocks that you could stack might work. You know, look around, be creative. But yoga blocks aren't expensive, so just go ahead and make that investment in yourself. Okay, we're gonna get started. And the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of the blankets. And we're just gonna open up the blanket to be underneath our shins. So you can just place this blanket down on the floor, like so. And your wrists just a little bit ahead of your shoulders. Oh, let me move back so that I'm fully in view here. Have your wrists just a little bit ahead of the shoulders with your hands pretty wide and slightly turned out. So my pinky, ring finger, they're on the floor off the mat, and there's a little turnout. My fingers are spread wide. I'm making suction cups out of my hands, because that's the root of my pose. My knees are a little bit behind my hips. And let's just exhale and drop the belly. Keep your arms nice and firm like I-beams. Drop the chest through the arms and drop the head. And just pause here for a second and take into your sense of awareness your spine. This is your spine here in released extension. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to start to arc the eyes forward on the floor until you're looking about 3 feet ahead of you on the floor. So we're not going to look across the room, just about 3 feet ahead of us. Exhale, draw the belly button towards the spine, consequently tucking the tailbone. Push those hands firmly into the floor using your pectoral muscles, consequently tucking the chin. You're going to inhale, release all that contracting. Let the belly drop down, let the chest drop through the arms. Bring the weight a little bit more heavily onto the wrists and gaze about 3 feet in front of you. Tailbone is flipping up, and you ought to feel a stretch here in your belly. Remember to please keep your arms nice and straight. Exhale, press those hands down, lift your belly button, sway the hips slightly back towards the heels, tucking chin, tucking tail. We're going to do this a couple more times. Release all that, inhaling. Weight glides forward over wrists. Eyes look ahead on the floor. Tailbone flipping up, shoulder blades drawing together. Exhale, press the hands firmly into the floor, lift the belly, tuck the tail, tuck the chin, glide a little back. You can even contract your pelvic floor here. And inhale. And exhale. And one more time, inhale. And exhale. And release. You can come back into an extended child's pose, reaching the arms forward. You can widen your hands off of this mat so that the shoulders are not feeling pinched at all. Let's reach the hips back towards the heels and let the armpits get a good stretch in them. And exhale, hands off the floor, press your knees and shins into the floor and come on up to a raised kneeling position. Good. And then the arms can come down to your side, so you're like in a kneeling mountain pose. Good. Okay, so now if you are uncomfortable kneeling on your heels like this, then you can stand up for the next exercise. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna have your palm facing your own face, and you're gonna pivot your arm back. I have my right arm up, and I'm gonna hold that right elbow with my left hand, and I'm just gonna pull that left elbow towards the ceiling. And look at, my elbow is not flaring open, but I have it facing, my tricep facing forward. So the elbow is drawing up to the ceiling, tricep facing forward. And it's like my armpit is really, really, really opening up here. So what happens when you do this to the back is that you really open up the front body and tone the back a little bit. So if the arm is forward, you are not doing this. You need the arm to be in line with the ear and not pressing the head forward. And then you can release, let the arm come down, take a breath, and switch sides. So we're gonna go up with the left arm. You're gonna hold that left elbow with your right claw. Use that right hand like a claw and pull it up. And keep that left tricep facing forward. You know that claw game where you strive to, you're trying to get a toy out of the box with that claw? I'm thinking about my hand being like that claw, gripping my elbow. So the armpit really opens up here. Good. And then you can release the arm down and just pause for a second, taking a breath. You can roll out the shoulders a little bit if you want. Give yourself a little bit of movement. Okay. So now we're going to switch gears, and you're going to take this blanket that you were using under your knees and shins. I have it in this shape, and now I'm just going to fold it in thirds, kind of accordion style. So I have now this shape. And I'm going to place this lengthwise on my mat with the fringe end away. So if you are using one of the Mexican style blankets with fringe, have that pointed in the direction where your feet are going to be. Okay. And then you're going to sit on the very end of this. Now, for those of you who have a very long spine, you actually may need to use a longer blanket. You may need to open your blanket up to a longer fold, or stack two blankets in a longer fold. And let me show that real quick so that you're not confused by what I'm saying. So in that case, I maybe would go something like this. Actually, why don't we all just do that? There you go. And if you have a longer spine still, you may need to use even a longer. Okay, either way, the idea is that you have a pretty long blanket that you're gonna sit your hips on, and this top edge, we're gonna have it land just below the shoulder blades. So here's how it'll look. My hips are raised up on this support, and I have this edge of the blanket just below my shoulder blades. So how do you know if it's in the right spot? A few different ways. First of all, the top edge of your shoulder blades, when you open up your arms, will land softly on the floor. Second of all, the back of your neck will lengthen and your chin will kind of tuck towards your chest, towards your collarbone notch. Third of all, if you take your thumbs to the top of this blanket and you trace to the front of the body, that blanket edge should line up with the bottom of your sternum, which is also called the xiphoid process. So if all of that is in place, then you've got the right spot. Now, You're going to reach out through your heels. I know my feet got a little cut out of the picture here. I'm sorry about that. This is a homegrown video, folks. So you're going to reach out through the heels. I have about 5% effort in my legs. I'm going to keep the feet reaching out. We're going to take a breath or two here. Nice deep breath into the wideness and into the lift of the chest. Exhale from the belly first, keeping the chest inflated. And then release the air from the chest. Okay, let's bring the arms together, or let's say towards each other, fingertips reaching to the ceiling. So your hands are reaching straight up and out from your chest. I want you to please firm up your triceps. Those are the muscles in the back of the arms, straightening your arms. Firm them up as much as you can. Do not allow the elbows to straighten. Keep the palms really enlivened here. Now you're going to start to draw the hands together as if you are unable to bend the elbows. So imagine the elbows are fused like this, and the hands are fused. You can't bend the hands towards each other either. You're going to bring the hands as close as you can together. If you can touch palms together, great. Do not let the elbows bend. That is first priority. If the palms touch, fantastic. Then you can interlace your fingers, your middle ring and pinkies, but make like a gun shape, or let's call it a steeple. That sounds nicer. A steeple shape with your pointer and your thumb. And we're going to start to bring these arms behind us as if there is somebody pulling on your pointer fingers. Do not let the elbows bend. And you're going to bring the arms back, framing the head as much as you're able to. Maybe you won't get them all the way around the head. Maybe you will. That is not as important as you please keeping the arms nice and elongated. Reach out through the soles of your feet. Reach out through the balls of your feet and reach back through your pointer fingers. Nice deep breath. Exhale, raise those arms up and release down. Let the legs relax. Let the arms relax and just take a nice easeful breath cycle or two here. Good. Okay. And then you're going to just roll off to your side. Okay, so if you decide that that is enough challenge for your spine, then you may not want to pursue the next action, but you're going to see how your body feels with the next action. Okay, so you can push that blanket back, and we're going to take our blocks now. And you don't need to have blocks with these edges cut off. This is just what I happen to have here. But you can have the regular rectangular blocks. You're going to place one block here at your tailbone. And you're going to bring the other block back behind that. And we're going to lay down so that this block is perfectly in line with your spine. If it's too hard, you can pad it with a thin blanket. Okay, so then I'm going to let my head down onto the second block. Notice I flipped the second block down so it's kind of at the lower setting. Now some of you will not like how this feels. It will be too abrupt on the spine. That's okay. You don't have to do this. You can do again what we just did. Make the blanket a little higher if you want, with a teeny bit of support underneath the skull. But give it a try. Don't just, say no thank you until you know. Okay, so here I am reaching out through my feet again. Nice deep breath. And then we're going to bring the arms up overhead. And again, with the elbows nice and firm, bring the hands towards each other and clasp hands so that you make a steeple with the opposite hand in front. And let's bring these arms back. So now, because the head is raised, you may find, oh, I got a blanket in my way, you may find that the floor is a little farther away. Don't be surprised if the hands don't get to the floor. If they do, fine, great. If they don't, so also fine. And your hands might not even be touching. You might have, 12 or even more inches between your hands. What's more important here is that you're getting this action of elongating from the hands to the armpit, down the sides and front of your body to the feet. And then coming up and release. Open up the arms as if wings. Pause passively, let the legs relax. On your last exhale, you're just going to bend your knees, use your elbows to help yourself up and over to the side, and then push yourself up. Okay, now you're going to take the two blocks to the front of the mat, and you're going to fold your two blankets underneath the knees as such, so that your blankets make a nice, a little ledge for your knee to land on. So let's go with, we'll go with the left knee back and the right leg forward. Okay, so check it out. Notice the angle of my left leg is rather at about 45 degrees. And with these blocks under my hands, I'm also, in line with my trunk, my torso. And I've got my hands, they're a little ahead of my shoulders, but roughly underneath the shoulders. Also notice that my right knee is basically directly lined up over my right ankle with those toes pointed forward. This leg is in line with my right hip. So some of you will already feel quite a stretch in the front of the left hip and thigh here. That's fine. If you do, you can just pause right there. Some of you won't feel much of a stretch there, and you'll feel like you want to take it further. If you feel like you want to take it further, what I'll have you do here is I'll ask you to firm up your gluteal muscles, your pelvic floor muscles, and then bring the hands to your right thigh. Keep that firmness in the gluteal muscles. So you're not dropping the hips, but you're kind of keeping a support in the hips. In fact, sometimes I like to imagine that I'm drawing the inner surfaces of my two pelvis bones towards each other here. Imagining that I'm guiding my right thigh bone forward and my left thigh bone backward. And then once you're kind of in that position, you can bring the arms together, reach overhead, see if you can bring the palms close. They can be as far apart as you need them to be and as close as you can afford them to be. If you can make the steeple with your fingertips, do that. Continue to support the hips using your gluteal muscles and reach the chest up. Breathing. And then exhaling, coming down. You can bring your weight onto your wrists here. Make sure those back toes are tucked. And you're going to exhale and press your left heel back without much lifting your hips. Doing your best to fully extend the left knee. So as best as you can, fully straighten the left leg. Try not to lift the hips too much. And we're just getting a real great length here in the entire left thigh and hip flexor area. And then you can release. And we'll switch. Okay, so the whole thing on the second side. Remember, you're going to have your left ankle aligned over your left knee aligned over your left ankle, and you're going to have that right thigh at approximately 45 degrees. If you feel a stretch here in your right thigh and hip flexor, then you can stop there. You don't have to progress the pose. I would still encourage you to support the hip by drawing the inner pelvic bones towards each other with a little gluteal contraction. If you want to progress it, you're going to take the hands to push away on your left thigh, lifting up through the top of the head, and again supporting that entire pelvic girdle using some gluteal contraction. Now if you're ready and you have the balance, you can raise the arms up, bring the hands together if they can come together without bending the elbows, without straining the shoulders. You can make your steeple, raise up through the pointer fingers, lift up through the sternum, slide the left knee forward, right femur bone back, exhale, release, hands to the bricks with your right toes tucked. Try not to lift the hips as you press your right heel back, lifting the right knee off those blankets. Creating in your mind's eye a long line from your right heel all the way up to your shoulders. And then you can lower that down. And this time we'll just bring both knees to these blankets, and you can come into a sort of high child's pose. So just rest the forehead on one of the bricks. You can open your thighs as much as you need to for your comfort, but also keep them as close together as you can tolerate them being. So we want the abdomen to have enough room for you to breathe, but I also want you to use your legs kind of as a bolster that you're rounding over. I'm just going to take about 3 to 5 full breaths here, releasing the back muscles, hips, neck muscles, shoulders, arms. Expanding the bones with your breath, massaging the muscles as you expand the bones with your breath. And then coming on up. Okay. So now we're going to switch gears and we're going to work into hero's pose or virasana. So what you're going to do again is you're going to open up one of these blankets to make a sort of a surface on the floor for your shins. Now this pose is a very tricky pose for a lot of people. So I want you to please keep an open mind about how far you may or may not end up going in the pose. There's a few things here. First of all, the feet are supposed to, in Virasana pose, be more so to the outside of the hips, not sitting on the heels anymore. Okay, now there's a few adjustments you can make. You can pull your knee skin up. Yes, I said pull your knee skin up. You can move the quadricep flesh out of the way. And if you're sitting on something, you can also kind of move the sit bones apart. Now, how do you know if you need to be sitting on something? Well, first of all, if your toes, ankles, knees, or hips are in pain, you need to be sitting on something. By the way, I forgot to mention, I have the edge of this blanket under the curve of my ankles, so I'm kind of supporting the curve of the ankles. The toes are pointed straight back. Do never, ever let your feet point the toes out. This is terrible for your knees, very dangerous, and if you ever see anyone doing that, please lovingly correct them. Okay, so if your hips if you're comfortable in all those joints and your hips are pretty close to the floor, then maybe you can afford to be sitting, without anything under your bottom. But if any of those joints are uncomfortable, if you feel like you're kind of leaning forward and pressing up or whatever like that, the joints are uncomfortable, or you have a lot of space between your bottom and the floor, then you're gonna wanna sit up on something. And so maybe a block will be enough, either at this level or at this level. You try what you want. You know, how do you know unless you try, right? So you kind of try, I'm gonna go like that. I can do it without the brick, but sometimes it's nice just to have the brick there. And see if putting something there helps. You can also, sometimes I'll use like a folded smaller towel or something like that, so it's lifting the hips but not sticking out behind me. There's a lot of ways to adjust the pose. Okay, moving on. So once you are comfortable in the position, you're going to take your second brick and you're going to bring it behind you. And we can have it kind of, I'm going to go at this direction. You're going to have it going straight back behind you so that this edge, the one that's farther from your butt, is going to land just below the shoulder blades. And then you're going to have your blanket ready for your head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this blanket kind of like a nice thick roll. Sometimes when I have a lot of props around me, I might just even use a third brick back here. Okay, so now you're going to bring your hands back behind you. Draw the shoulder blades together, please, so that you're really opening up the front. Bring the weight to the hands. Lift the hips, tuck the tail, and let the hips back down either towards the floor, or if you had a support there, towards the support. And you're going to start to exhale and allow yourself down to the brick. Try not to twist down so that the brick lands, the top edge of the brick lands just below the shoulder blades like I had suggested. And then you're going to decide if the head is too high or too low. Now, the shins should be able to stay on the blanket that they are on. So the knees stay together, the shins stay down. If your legs are popping up, it means that you need to bring your chest and back higher up or lower your butt farther down. For me, I know that what I will succeed more in doing here is taking this brick out from underneath my hips and letting my hips settle down so that my spine can, yeah, that's much better for my body, but you have to find what's appropriate for your body. Then the head is going to be supported just enough so that you're not hyperextending the neck. You might have some lift of the chin, that's okay, but I don't want you pinching the back of your neck like so. So you should have some support there, whatever feels appropriate for you. Knees together, shins down. If this is too much, you don't have to do it, or stay up higher. Okay, we're going to inhale, bring the arms together, or arms up, elbows extended. If you can bring the hands together, make your steeple, bring the arms back behind you. Reach back through the pointer fingers, reach forward through your kneecaps, press the shins down towards the floor, lengthening the front of the body. Taking a couple deep breaths here, release the spine. Imagine that the brick is informing your spine to draw into the center of the body and towards the ceiling that's above you, right? So there's like a sucking up of the spine into the body. And then when you're ready to come out, bring the arms alongside you. You're going to lift the head first. Use your hands, elbows on the floor, even maybe on your feet. Press down with the hands, lift up with the chest. And again, if you need to sit up higher, have a brick underneath your hips. And pause. take a moment here. Feel the body. Let the head level out so the chin is level with the floor, as in Tadasana. Good. And now we're going to counter pose. Okay. So let's bring these bricks off to the side here. Take the blanket out from underneath you. Actually, let's put the blanket, tell you what, let's put the blanket off to the left side and give it kind of a thicker fold. Second blanket can go on top of that so that you've got a nice little stack there. Okay, coming down to the floor. You can open up the arms, have the feet about hip width apart, and we're just going to rock the knees, keeping the hip width apart distance between the feet. A few times to each side. Okay, and then we're going to swoosh the hips on over to the right, extend the left leg down the mat, and cross your right leg onto this stack of blankets here. Once it's crossed onto the stack of blankets, just move that left shoulder out to the left a little bit, and you can open up the arms fully. If you need the blankets to be higher up, just fold it so they're higher up. Notice I have my leg fully supported from my knee to my foot, and I keep breathing and moving this left shoulder out to the left as I need to. If your right shoulder is really off the floor quite a bit, then please bring your right hand onto your hip or to your waist or something like that, so you're not stressing your right shoulder joint. You're going to take some deep breaths here. Exhaling, releasing the body into the rotation. And then coming back. Square off the hips. Hug that knee in to the chest. You can have your other foot just on the floor as it is. And extend the right leg up. You can hold the leg behind the calf. Lift the head, drawing the head and knee towards each other. If you're very tight, maybe you have your hand behind the shin or even behind the hamstring, behind the thigh. You're going to find what works for your body. And then exhale, release down. And we'll switch. So bring the props to the other side, please. You can pick your hips up, move them over to the left side of the mat, rolling onto your outer right hip. Extend the right leg down the mat and cross your left leg over to the right. Adjust the stack of blankets so that it's supporting your left shin as fully as possible from the left knee to the left foot. Pick up that right upper back and shoulder and just shimmy it out to the right an inch or two. And then again, if your left shoulder is way off the floor, kind of like popped up like that, then you can bring your left hand to your waist or to your hip or something like that. If the left shoulder is mostly on the floor, then you can keep the arm open if that feels good to you. We're going to take a few breaths here. Exhaling, letting the spine respond to the breath. Letting any tension behind the knees, between the thighs and the hips, letting that release. You may find that you need to adjust the body a little bit as you breathe. Please listen to the body's request. And then when you feel complete, coming back, squaring off the hips, bringing that left knee in towards the chest. Extending the left leg, taking the hands somewhere behind the left leg, lifting the head towards the leg, drawing the leg and head towards each other. Using the belly muscles a bit. And then releasing that leg down and your other leg down. You can take a moment now to rest. If it was me, I would be resting after this by putting a blanket underneath my head. So when we come into corpse pose, Shavasana, it's nice to support the head a little bit. You can allow the feet to roll open. Allow the arms to be at your sides, 8 or 10 inches away from the hips. So the armpits are not closed off and the upper ribs are not being clamped. Closing the eyes, covering yourself up with a blanket if you need to, and spending several minutes slowing down the breath, relaxing any tension in the body, and slowing down the pace of your thoughts. I'm going to leave you here to enjoy your rest. And thank you so very much for practicing with me today. If you gained something from this, please be sure to like and comment on the video, to share it with someone who you might feel it would be applicable to, and to subscribe to the channel and tune in next time. Thank you so much. Namaste.